Hey guys, what's up? It's Ranzo here today, and I have someone that again is very, very inspirational, right? My neighbor, I grew up with him literally next door to me, right? And from a place in Jamaica that some of you guys, most of you guys won't even know the name of this community in Jamaica. But Okita Williams hailed from this community where I'm from as well, and he's made his way into multi-millionaire status, right? Being a real estate investor, right? He owns multiple companies, and right now he's pursuing a doctorate in law in the United States of America. Right, coming from obscure beginnings, right? People usually say sometimes you come from a certain community, a certain country, and you can't really make it in life. Well, Okita defied all the odds, and now again he's a trailblazer, a rising star, and I really wanted to make the world hear his story. So, Okita, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right, so we want to go back to the beginning, right? Because honestly, my goal is to inspire the masses, for people to understand that this is possible, right? For me, as I said earlier, this hit
Okay.
close to home because it's like we grew up in the same community, literally one
That's
zinc fence, as they say,
one
of
thing. Yeah.
right, was between our homes, right? So you were on one side, I was on another side, my family's on the other side, right? And to see
Yeah.
that to where you are now, it's an inspiration to me, and I really want again the world to hear your story. So tell us about
And I
your humble
appreciate that.
beginnings.
Okay, of course, like you stated, I came from Grandspan community. Life was not the easiest from a poverty-stricken background, but I never settled for that. I always knew that God wanted more for me. So of course, God helped those who help themselves. So I made sure to put in the work. God opened the door where I was able to get a US visa. And of course, I had met my wife. We started communicating and stuff. And as years progressed, we decided to get married and I relocated to the US. Sadly, things went left. She was experiencing health complications at the time and we went homeless. We were homeless for 7 months. I was sleeping in a car, but I was still actively working, right? Getting up, going to a job. It was not enough to rent an apartment. Eventually, she got her health under control. God, of course, always shows up. And she got another job and she was able to finish her schooling and everything. And she became a nurse. I started working a second job. And of course, the income that was coming in still wasn't enough. So I decided that I was going to join the military. I joined the military and I got a bonus. When I got the bonus, the bonus was 25,000 to be exact. Of course, they don't give all that money up front. So my BAH, which is the housing allowance that they give each month, I saved that when I was in basic training in AIT, which is my where you go for your job training. Save that money. I accumulated up to like close to 15 or $20,000 if my memory serves me correctly, and I put that with whatever I had got back or got from my bonus. And I was able to purchase a home in North Carolina. Now, the house that I purchased in North Carolina, it was owned by a lady that had dementia and was placed in an assisted facility. Her grandson was the one that placed it on the market. He was living in California at the time. So I purchased the house, went in the house, I changed the carpet through Lowe's, uh, changed the appliances, painted the walls like how we would paint the walls around Christmas time in Jamaica, did my little upgrades to the house, and then I sold that house, and I sold that house for over 200,000. After selling that house, I used that money and I bought a bunch of houses and I started flipping. And of course, I held some and I continued the process. And today, myself and my wife, we own 80 houses. So if God is able to do it for me, I'm 110% sure that he can do it for anyone else. We own 80 houses and it's in 8 countries. I'm sorry. 80 houses in and of course in 8 countries. Uh, how we manage these houses, we manage the houses through the system that is called Eufy. It is spelled EUFY. So if anyone is interested in getting into real estate, they're able to go that route where they're able to purchase that system. And then you're able to manage the property on your own. So, say for instance, you buy a house in Pennsylvania, and you order the system online. Of course, it will be delivered. You send it to a handyman, and you can find a handyman on Facebook Marketplace or the Craigslist. Of course, you will make an offer, 70 or $80. After making that offer, and they agree, you sign a document, right? And then you get the system sent out to them. Once they receive it and closing documents and everything is already finalized, they go out and they install the system. So with this system, you're able to monitor everything on your phone. You're able to lock the door from your phone and you're able to open the door from your phone. You're able to see who's leaving and who's entering the property. So that removes the middleman, which would be a realtor. So that's how I'm able to manage my properties and able to continue to make progress. But every dollar that I make, I tend to reinvest it, or I find ways to try to help somebody else, because I believe that's my mission on this earth. I believe God placed me on this earth to bless people and to open doors to other people, because he would not bless me in abundance for me to keep it to myself. I just don't believe that's God's plan. So yeah, that's how I got to where I am today. So I'm
Wow.
grateful.
Wow, that's amazing. There's just so many things, right? I like that you always put God in the story. You know, it's like
Absolutely.
you always mention his name, which is an amazing thing. Where did you get that drive from? You moved from Jamaica to America, and then you found yourself in this place where you were homeless, right? What was
Right.
the thing within you that propelled you to say, you know what, this won't be where I will spend the rest of my life. I'm gonna move from here to somewhere else.
I think it has to do with a God given drive as well as ambition, and knowing that I should not be in that predicament forever. I believe that God opened doors, or God will eventually open doors in my life. And by Him opening those doors, I'm able to bring people with me. So, to answer your question perfectly, uh, I believe it has to do with my ambition, the way I was raised. My mother always told me not to settle, always go for better. Uh, my attitude, of course, always will determine my altitude. Uh, where I was raised don't determine where I will go. So it's just that I wanted better. I saw so many people that I grew up with that passed away or that was killed, and I just never wanted to be a part of that story. I wanted a difference. I wanted to change the trajectory and make better for herself. I believe it all comes down to a God-given drive, the way I was raised, and also ambition, just wanting better.
Because like myself, I immigrated overseas, right? And I went through some challenges myself as well. Were there any thoughts in your mind of, did I make the right decision?
Absolutely. I was going back and forth with, of course, my mother and my grandmother as it relates to me going back home. Of course, they were telling me to come back home, but I knew that America has so much opportunities, regardless of the fact that, it has its flaws, pros and cons to every country. I knew that I was able to make better of myself in the US in comparison to Jamaica, because it's the land of the opportunity, of land of the free, and opportunities exist. So I made a conscious decision. I looked at everything that was on the table and I said, it made more sense for me to stay and fight and make better for myself in comparison to going back to Jamaica, where I'm going back to the hood. There's nothing there, there's no foundation, and it's still going to be a struggle. So at least I need to pick a struggle that would make sense eventually. And that's what I did. And I'm grateful. I don't regret coming to this country. Absolutely not.
Were there any books you were reading, or any motivational speaker you were listening to at that time, or it was solely just internal and through prior?
Rich Dad Poor Dad definitely made an impact. I read that as while I was homeless. Just wanting better. I think it's various factors, but there's not any specific person that I could say I was listening to at the time when we were homeless that journey me through whatever we were going through with the homelessness. And of course, when you're homeless, the depression tends to come, start having anxiety. It's a multiple factors that come, but it was definitely God, always going back to the word, and praying, because that's the foundation. So I went back to my roots because that's what I was raised on. And it helped me to journey through all those trials and the struggles that we experienced when we lived in Florida.
Indeed, prayer is a very powerful thing. I think sometimes people underestimate the
Absolutely.
power of prayer, and the word itself
Yes.
is a first motivational book. inspirational book, right? The Bible,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So indeed, Proverbs. There's so many things in the Bible. I think so. So you were anchored in the Word and prior during that time, which I think can catapult anyone to the heights.
yes.
So the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, right? Where did that come from? Did you see it at the library? Someone gave it to you? Like, how did that come into your view?
I reckon I was scrolling on Instagram, and that's how I stumbled across that book. It's not anyone specific. I think it was just recommended. You know, sometimes Instagram recommend you stuff to read and watch and purchase, and that's how I stumbled on that book. And I decided to go on. Uh, I went on Google, and then I read, like, that mini article or the synopsis of the book itself, and then that's how I was able to say, you know what, let me try to see if I can buy this book. I purchased the book, and it's helped. Of course, it was the ebook that I purchased. I think that's what it's called, where you can read it online, because I never had an address. So I read it, and of course, it inspired me. It propelled me to do better, to be way more focused, and organize my finances better. So when I come in contact with money, I know how to manage my money and remember where I'm coming from, and not to get so biggity or get ahead of myself and feel like, okay, I've arrived, and I can't lose all this. So it's a book that definitely uh, let me realize life, and I learned how to maneuver life itself, and like I said, with finances. So
You mentioned financial literacy, and
yes,
when I did some research on you before, it's like you said that that's a very important key in your success, right? Your ability to manage
absolutely.
finances effectively. So can you tell me, because when you mentioned the fact that you saved your housing allowance to help
Mhm.
pay for the property, first property, I was wondering, like, where did that discipline come from? So can you walk us through your financial literacy journey?
Of course. It goes back to discipline and not having. So when you come in contact with money, you want to make sure you use it wisely. Be mindful that I was homeless. So because I was homeless at a point in my life for 7 months, of course, I do not want to go back where I'm coming from. So the first thing I did, instead of buying clothes and stuff, and on things that I don't need, I made sure to secure a house. And mind you, I was already doing research as it relates to real estate. I started digging more because we're homeless, so I need a roof over my head. So with me digging for more information, now I start teaching myself how to become a real estate investor, and it definitely helped. So that's where my financial literacy came from, ensuring that there's a foundation that's always laid. So moving forward, I'm never in the predicament that I was once in.
I'm seeing a connection. I never made the connection before until just now. So because you were in that pressure cooker, so to speak, right? You were
Right, right,
forced to research to remedy your situation. Your focus was one thing: I need a roof over my head for my family, and that drive, that determination, multiplied, propelled you, and now you are where you are. Beautiful,
right.
beautiful
And I'm
story,
so
actually.
grateful. Yes, yes.
Amazing story, man. Okay,
Thank
so now you're in the military, right? What?
I was in the
You,
military. I'm no longer in the military. Um, I
no, yeah,
now have
no,
my real estate company.
I
So
mean, like, I'm going back like what, over a decade ago, right? So I'm saying, like, so now you're researching, right, in your car, right?
right, right.
Then the military came to you. So how did you decide to go that route?
I always wanted to join the military, but I had fear. I felt like I wasn't gonna pass, and I just say, you know what, fear is not of God. I have to go over and beyond and get this done. When I first did the test, I had failed. When I did the test to enlist in the military, I failed. I failed by 2 points, and of course I started practicing and studying, and I passed. And I said, okay, this is it. I have to make the decision now to leave my family and go to basic training. This was something I always wanted to do from when I lived in Jamaica. I always wanted to become an attorney, a criminal attorney, and also become an American soldier. And I said, okay, now I'm here. God opened the doors. I got my green card. Now it's time for me to join. I failed before. The only time you truly fail is when you stop trying. And that has always been my mindset. So I decided to redo the test. I passed. This time I scored 97. Uh, Of course, I went to training. When I went to training, I only was able to do 4 push-ups. And I said, oh no, I got to get this together. Um, and of course, I started practicing. So I started maxing out on uh, all the push-ups and the PT test. But again, it all goes back to me knowing that I always wanted to make better for myself. And when you're coming from a place of lack and God opened doors for you, it's always imperative to remember what you said you were going to do, because life can change in the split of a second, right? Uh, and you don't want to live your life from a place of regret. And I always would listen to people who would come back to Jamaica. Of course, they lived there for years and whatever situation or predicament they may have find themselves in, and they had to return to Jamaica, probably deported. And I said, I don't want to be in a position like that ever. You don't have to go through something in order to make good decisions. Some people, bad experiences should be wisdom for you. You should say, okay, that happened with that person. Maybe I don't need to take that route. So yeah, to answer your question, it was definitely just me wanted to join the military from a very long time, and I'm grateful. It was my best worst decision, but I don't regret it because it opened many doors for me and my family.
So how long did you serve for?
I served for 6 years.
Okay, wow. So I would imagine that there are certain like transferable skills or traits that came from that journey, maybe discipline. Like what did you learn throughout your time in the military that you were able to transfer into your other activities?
I'm way more disciplined. I don't make up excuses. It really irks my nerves when people come up with excuses. The military definitely helped me to find solutions. There's always some solution. And uh, I'm way more aggressive towards life. Like like my mind never tell me I can't get things done. So the military definitely helped on that level. Like if I say I'm gonna get something done, I'm gonna get it done, and I'm gonna go over and beyond to make sure it is done. Because once there's a will, there's a way. The military definitely helped me in that on that level.
So did you see active combat? It's something people always ask, and I know it's kind of cliche and maybe lame.
Right.
Did you see active combat? Like what was your position or what was your role in the military?
I was at 88 Mike, which is a motor vehicle operator. So of course I gained way more skills in motor vehicle operation, driving tankers and various military uh, vehicles. Uh, they trained us on that. So um, I'm grateful for that. But as it relates to seeing combat, I wasn't deployed. So
Were
I'm
you
grateful because
overseas?
a lot of people, yeah, I was never deployed.
Okay.
So I'm grateful that I was never deployed because many people get deployed and they don't return home. So I'm grateful that I was able to serve and make my impact and also learn and grow through the military. Of course, we all have our place in society. You get what I mean?
Mm,
We
yeah,
all have our place and we all uh, have our purpose. So, and
I see.
it's never too late. You can always change your mind and say, you know what? Probably want to go into law now. You never know. So, hey.
That's what I like about you, man. You always motivate people, and I think one thing you say as well, which you don't have to say, but you say it. You say in some of your videos that I'm not special. Like anyone can do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
Right.
Better
Yes.
now your kind of vibe, and it's like
Little
people
bit
don't.
that I.
Yeah, like people don't say that, but you say it, right? So to me, it feels like it's coming from your heart because you don't have to say
It
it, but you
is.
say it. So it's like when you make videos, your goal is to really help the people.
You may talk, don't move. So this is a 2-bed, 1-bath home in the state of Michigan. I paid $17,000 for this home. Of course, there's not a lot that needs to be done to it. The carpet probably needs to be clean or changed. There's not much that really needs to be done, if I'm gonna be honest. Now, I'm able to get 1250 for this property. And I believe that's a win. This is a house for $21,000. You can go into this house, change the carpet, paint the walls, do your little upgrade, and of course, you own the house free and clear, and you can generate an income of $1350. Right? In the kitchen, you'll just put some appliances, do the upgrades, because remember, it's a rental home and you don't want to invest too much money in it. But at the end of the day, this is something that you will own free and clear. Stop being a bum and buy yourself a house. So this is a home I paid $5,000 for in Alabama through a tax deed sale in 2021. I paid $1,000 for the floor to be done, and I now generate an income of $1,500. You can't go wrong with real estate. People are always looking somewhere to live. So this is a house that's listed for $28,000, and I guarantee if you offer probably $24,000, you would be able to buy this house. So let's go through the pictures. Picture one, as you can see, there's nothing wrong with the roof. There's nothing wrong with the foundation. The siding is okay. The backyard needs to be cut. In picture four, the same thing for photo five. Photo six, the flooring is good. Walls just need to be painted. Photo seven, the bathroom just need to be updated. In number eight, I would just put a refrigerator there. The stairs are good. This room is also good. That furniture just need to be removed. This is a photo of a room and also the hallway. Buy this house and start your portfolio in real estate. Love you.
When you
Absolutely,
showcase what
yes,
you've done, it's for inspiration, right? Some people might misconstrue and
yes,
misunderstand, but you're trying to inspire
yeah,
people like, look,
of
this is
course.
possible. This is my story. So let's go back to the real estate, right? So now you have, I read that you have two companies, trucking and real estate.
Absolutely. I'm in the trucking and also doing the real estate. Yes. My main focus is on real estate. Real estate, of course, is the fastest way to become a millionaire and a multimillionaire. That's always proven itself. So I really like real estate. Like, I really like houses. I feel like I have to claim everything back from my ancestors. That's how I always feel. Um, but yeah, I really like real estate. I'm always searching for houses, always trying to see if I can get a next deal because my ultimate goal is to become the first billionaire out of my community. And in
Amen.
Jesus' name, I will.
Amen. And look, you're on your way, bro. You're well on your way,
Uh,
right? So
On my way.
on your way, right? So even that number like 80 is like a big number because some people again they're looking to secure their first property, right? But
Right.
again, you did the work, right? You said hard work, dedication, and it took you time to do that, right? You learned, right? And I'm pretty sure you made some mistakes along the way. So tell us about your
Oh,
first
absolutely.
property,
Yes.
right? So I want you to tell me about the first property, and then also, does it get any easier, or along the way? So from number one to number 80, it's like I want you to tell me about the first one. So you said you were saving your housing allowance, right? And then was it that you bought it cash, or was it like a mortgage
I bought it
situation?
cash. I bought
Okay,
it cash.
so you were saving, right? And then so tell me about that. So what did you find any challenges when you were trying to like figure out how to secure the property? Like, did you make any mistakes in the process, or you knew exactly what to do from your research?
I knew exactly what to do. And I think it all goes back to my wife having a foundation in real estate because she had bought her first home at the age of 19.
Okay, wow.
Of course, my wife is from New York. She's originally from this country. But she had bought her house, and then when we had lived in Florida and eventually became homeless, she had just sold the house.
Okay.
So of course, there were so many things for her that she could have passed on to me as it relates to knowledge, and she did, and I was able to use that burst of knowledge to propel me to make good decisions as it relates to real estate. Of course, I make my mistakes. So I made so many because I would not listen and I would always actively research. But of course, when you know, sometimes as men, we want to do things and want to feel like a man. So even if or wife say, this is what you're supposed to do. You say, I don't think that will work right now. Let me take another route, right? For example, I remember having this tenant, this potential tenant. She had applied to become a tenant of mine or to rent the property from me. And she came up with a bunch of excuses as to why she couldn't provide 6 months of pay stub well, six pay stubs, I should say. She only had provided three, and my wife had insisted for me to get all six. Of course, I was looking at the fact that she had kids, and I wanted her to have a roof over her head. And mind you, I was homeless before, so I know what it's like to not have a roof over my head. I decided to move forward and rent her my property, and she went in and she destroyed my place. So if only I'd went ahead and followed through with what my wife said, I would have never been in that predicament. But of course, I let my heart get the best of me. Not saying you can't have a heart when you get into business or into real estate, but you always have to be mindful that friendship, or whether platonic or romantic, doesn't work when it comes to money, and when it comes to building wealth, when it comes to real estate. So that's one major lesson that I had to that I learned from investing, because that lady destroyed my place, like really destroyed it. And of course, I went through the motions. I cried. I was so angry, saying, "God, why am I getting at this type of situation?" And of course, I'm gonna go through all of that. But you live and you learn, and you win some and you lose some. So I believe all things work together for its good, and I'm grateful that I'm now here with the knowledge that I have, and I know what to do and what not to do when it comes to real estate.
Wow. So even your wife at 19, that's a story within itself, right? So
Yes,
19, very few people, I think, own their first property at 19, right? So that's like,
right,
she's a success story in her own right as well.
right,
Um,
and I'm so grateful and honored that God placed her in my life.
Amen. Just to clarify, you said the first property was 20,000 or 200,000.
No, the proper.
You
Okay.
sold it for
So my
200?
bonus that I got was 25,000. Think
Mhm.
around 25,000. Don't quote me on it. I know it wasn't under because it's been so long. But I saved up money from being in the military, and it was like 15,000 or a little over. The property itself cost a little over 30,000. But when I sold it, I made over 200,000 because I did work to the property itself. So I think that
Wow.
20, it's the 200,000 that you're making reference to. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. 20,
Yeah.
20, you said, because you said 200,000. So I was like, I remember I saw a post. I thought it was like, you bought it for 20. That's what you said. You never said what you sold it for. That's why. Because my mind is like, wait, I saw
Yeah.
20. So why there's a big jump? That's like
Yeah,
10x, like grandfather
that's a
dollar.
big jump because I did upgrades to it. And also, this may sound horrible, but it's also a blessing at the same time. The grandson that was selling the house, he never knew the condition of the house. So it wasn't in a poor condition. I think it was just God's way of blessing us, and also helping us to build a foundation and open multiple doors, because God knew by me purchasing the house, doing some work on the house, I would make that money, and then that would change the trajectory of my story for a lifetime. So for
Wow.
that, I am grateful.
And I attribute that to of course, your mom praying, your grandmother praying, you
Yes.
praying, right? So I think that's where God hands come into a story where, because some people might be wondering, like, how did this happen to this person, that person? It's like, look, you got to be
Yeah,
praying out. Listen, you need a relationship with the Lord, okay? The Bible
you
says the
do.
earth is the Lord's
Definitely.
and the fullness thereof, the world and
Right.
they that dwell therein, which means God owned everything. So he
Right.
decides, okay, my son here, my daughter there, right? So I think that's one of those key ingredients that you had, that you were praying in the midst of this. And I think, again, prayer opened doors.
It definitely does. Prayer open doors and remove blockages.
Amen. 100%. So tell me,
Yes.
during that journey, what was like some of the challenges? I think one that you said is that, I guess, family and friends and business don't really mix, I guess. I think that's one lesson you
Yes,
learned.
definitely.
So that was one, right? So family and friends, people say sometimes don't mix with business. So you learned that lesson early. Is there anything you learned along your journey from property one to property 80?
You don't buy expensive things and put in a rental property. It's not your personal home. So say for instance, you go to the store, you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, and you know you need a refrigerator and a stove. It's best to start from the clearance section before you actually go to the normal section in the store. Why? Because people tend not to treat your stuff like how you would treat it. So there's no way, Jose, that you're supposed to be spending uh, $700 on a stove or a refrigerator. It's if it's in good condition, and of course, Lowe's have this clearance section where you can always go to purchase appliances. So, say for instance, you need a refrigerator. You go to Lowe's, and it's listed for $550. You ask to speak to the supervisor or the manager. Most people don't know this, but I do it all the time. You ask to speak to the supervisor or the manager, Let them know that you're interested in purchasing that appliance, and then of course make an offer to them. So if they say they want, if it's listed for 550 in the clearance section, offer 350, but say to them that you're going to get it the next day. But you have to get it the next day because that's the agreement. But you have to get a truck to move it. And that has always worked for me. But when I just started out, I never did that. So it took the experience for me to get the wisdom. When I just started out, I bought, expensive appliances. Uh, of course, I made the money back. But then when I bought my second property, things went left. Of course, I have my fair share of tenants going into my properties and destroying them. But again, I believe all things work together for good because it helped me to gain wisdom and the experience and know what I should do and what I should not do.
You also do mentorships, right, or something like that?
Yeah, because a lot of people have been reaching out to me since I started doing TikTok, and they were saying that they want have to do a consultation. They want me to guide them, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I have so much things on my plate." So after like really considering and so many people reaching out to me, I decided to start doing it, and I charge $150 for it uh, to do a consultation or mentorship. And I believe getting into real estate, you need a mentor. You need someone to guide you. I can't speak on other people. I've heard many times that people invest their money by paying for these courses and they've been scammed. Uh, I'm not pointing any fingers on anyone, but I always tell people that it's better to have a mentor. You need someone to guide you throughout your investing journey. So you know what to do and what not to do. And I don't believe a book or just a class is really going to help you because you may have to make a decision as it relates to if you should rent this tenant a property. You saw something on her credit or in her background, and that happened 10 or 15 years ago. You get what I mean? And now you want to know if you should move forward and you need guidance. Okay, now you have to trust your instinct. Certain advice that a mentor would give, a class is not going to give.
The reason why my mind went there was because when you said initially you bought the most expensive appliance or an expensive appliance, and then when you learned, you realized that there was another way to do it to save some money. So it's like I
Right,
saw the value of experience there. So and then I'm like, oh yeah, you do mentorship as well. So it's like you can pass that on to someone else. And
right,
I do believe you're underpricing, because again,
right,
trust me, the numbers I've seen out there, bro, it's like in the thousands, right? So,
right.
so
I try
there,
not to be greedy. Sorry, I try not to be greedy. I try to be very considerate because I remember where I'm coming from,
yeah,
and I believe when God is bestowing His blessings on your life, you can't be too greedy. It's
yeah.
not taking anything away from me to share the information, but when it comes to me finding houses for people, that's a whole nother story. Of course, I'm gonna charge a fee right there. I usually charge $1,000 to $1,500 for helping with that. Um, but to say, okay, someone needs mentorship, I'm not going to overprice them because I know what it's like to be in that position. And even with my fee that I charge to help with a house, to find a house, going into these real estate investor groups and finding these houses, that's cheap in comparison to using most realtors. You get what I mean? So yeah, I still believe that with God blessing you, you still have to have some type of conscience and be mindful that there are other people trying to get to your level and you were once in that position, so you can't now just magically act like you have arrived or things is you just arrive here and you weren't in that position or predicament at one point or wanted this information that I'm now sharing. So yeah.
Wow. Again, that's amazing, bro. That's why you're blessed, bro. Because again, your
Thank
mindset
you.
is different from a lot of people. Because some people would just look at the fact that someone is desperate or in dire straits and try to milk them because they're like, yo, they want
Right.
a solution. So they try to max out how much they can get from the person. And your mindset is so good because again, it's like you remember where you're coming from, and you're like, you know what?
Absolutely.
They can't afford this, so I'm gonna put it within reach for them. Right.
Yes, I think
And I think
that's how you make an impact.
that's amazing, because I think that's what God blesses as well, right? Because it's like the
Right,
Lord sees, so
right,
God takes care of you and you take care of his people, right? So it's like
right.
once
Be
you keep taking care of
custodians.
them, right? It's amazing. I just love that. Because again,
Like,
I try to read these books and listen to people, and it's like, again, very few people have that mindset that you have,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Most
That's
people get
amazing.
into real estate. They're always trying to see how they can make money and overcharge people. No, that's not me, and I can't let the blessings that God is releasing on my life. I'm now taking advantage of people and
Yeah.
overcharging people. God would take my blessings away, and it's not worth it. No.
Wow, amazing, bro. Like I think even your upbringing, right? Just coming from where you come from, where we came from, it's like that. I think that also just inspires you in a certain way, where you're like, what it's like to be, in Jamaica, in the community we came
Right,
from,
right.
and so now it's like, wow, this is amazing, bro. I think it's good. It's inspiring. I hope people that are watching this are inspired. It's beautiful because people like gatekeeping. It's like
Yes, a
one is the
lot.
overcharge or the gatekeep, because again, it's so funny because I was listening to a message recently where the guy was saying, when you light someone like a candle, it's not taken away from your flame. So, some people
It's
think
not.
when you shine, then they're not shining too. It's like, nah, bro, look at this in the sky. You got a gazillion stars. They're all shining. They're all beautiful. And even together, it's better to see a lot of stars than one, because you're like, oh, look at that. Just the night sky looks so much more
Right.
beautiful.
And last year when I started doing social media, like I'm going on TikTok and posting videos and doing content, uh, of course, there are multiple people who booked with me, and I was able to help 59 people to purchase a home. 59
Wow.
people.
What?
And majority of them are island people, older women. I remember this one lady reached out to me and she said that she never thought that she would have ever owned a home in her life. Now, mind you, she
Wow.
has been here from she was 12 years old and now she's 56. And she had came in contact with some money. If my memory serves me right, I think it was 55,000. And I was able to help that lady to find three houses. And of
Wow.
course, there are houses in one was in Pennsylvania, one was in Michigan, and one was in Ohio. There wasn't anything that needed to be done to it. There are cheap houses. Uh, of course, still goes up in value. And of course, like I always tell people, it's better to have real estate because you have money coming in and you can be guaranteed that someone will rent your place because people are always looking for somewhere to live. So uh, I got her to three houses, and of course, she still lives in Florida to this day. Because of course, there is no way she would have been able to take that money to buy a house in Miami, right? So I told
Mm.
her it makes sense to buy a house in these areas. I will help you to manage the house until you're able to branch off on your own, because of course, you're not really familiar with how the whole process works. And she's doing exceptionally well. And the money that she's getting from the income that she's getting from those properties, she's now able to use that to fix her credit and pay her bills in Miami. And now she's looking into getting a mortgage to get herself her dream house. So, yeah,
Wow, look at that, bro. Okay, the thing is, again, as I said, I'm trying not to be too excited, but look at that. That was something that you never even shared on social media, and it's like
right.
you you're doing what you're doing for your family, right? Yourself and your family, and you're also 59, bro. 59
Yeah.
people that
Yeah.
weren't homeowners. You've made them into homeowners, right? Just by
Right.
your
'Cause
journey.
thank you. And when I just posted my ebook, and of course I went viral. I made over $20,000 last year just from my ebook, and I was astonished because I was like, so much people want to invest, and of course I only had listed my ebook for $50, right? So a lot of people purchased my ebook, and of course I started with the ebook, and then I was being pressured, like so much people would reach out to me saying that they need me to do consultation, they need to talk to me and stuff like that, and I guided a lot of people. I really have, and I'm just grateful that God saw it fit to use me as a vessel to help people to build generational wealth. That by itself is a blessing and is amazing.
Yeah, amen. So, you're not just securing generational wealth for yourself and your family, you're also doing that for other people as well. It's a very inspiring
Yes,
story, Brian. Again, I'm just being authentic. This is just how I am. You know what I'm saying? I do my interviews, I'm just myself, This is how I feel like,
right,
again,
right. You've always
it's
been you, right?
it's such an amazing
Yeah,
story, bro. Like, it is such an amazing story because, again, it's like, man, this is how successful people ought to be. If you're an example, bro. again, I really think
Thank
more people
you.
need to hear your story because it can inspire other people. It can challenge their own position, their own belief system, and they too, right, can adopt this mentality and move in that direction. I think you literally have it
Right,
figured out.
right.
I
And
think
that's
you
the
have
reason
it
why
figured
I
out.
decided to go public and talk about my journey, because I believe that there are people out there that want to throw in the towel, they want to give up, they believe that they will never make it, there is not no light at the end of the tunnel, and that's not true. I don't believe that God would bring us so far to leave us. Once you connect with the right people, put in the work, and consistently uh, be persistent with working towards your dreams and your aspirations, they will be fulfilled and not destroyed. And I always try to share those words with people, and I just believe my story can definitely make that impact, and I hope it is.
Amen. I think it will. Someone in America right now, for example, right, that might say, man, like I'm in dire straits, I'm homeless, or maybe not homeless, but they're going through a hard time. And they're like, man,
Mhm.
they want to make it. They just want to like be able to pay their bills on time and to live fairly comfortably. But they feel like there's no way for them. Maybe they never went to university. No one in their family has money. Is there any advice that you can pass on to that person right now that might see this video, whether they're in America or anywhere across the world, to try to like give them like a boost to go forward?
Is there a specific age group we're working with? Because that changes the variables.
That's so good.
Would they be retired, or
Um, no, no,
are
not
they able
retired.
to
No,
still work?
that's so good though. See, this is what I'm saying. Like you go so deep, right? That's so good. Okay, let's just do two groups then. I think one, someone that's just starting out. Like let's say someone from in their 20s, between 20 and 30, and then another person that's retired, like older, that feels like, man, my life is over.
Let's start with the younger generation first. I would say my advice to them is to get a job. It's very imperative to get a job. After getting a job, you may have bills. Of course, you live in America and you're an adult. You have to know your budget that you're able to work with as it connects or relates to saving. If you're able to save, I would say $7,000 in 1 year, that's good. The next year you would file your tax return, so you'll get some money back. You probably get probably 5 to 6,000, depending if you have kids or if you don't have kids. If you have dependents, you would put that money on what you already saved before I even go forward to the uh, getting your tax return back. Whatever you have saved, you would, of course, you'll put that money in a high yield savings account where the APY would be 4.0. You can put it with Barclays savings account, right? So money is growing on it. So by the time you are ready to use it, which should be the following year, because now you would have got your tax return, you would put your tax return on it. Now you search for a cheap house. That changed the entire trajectory or your story now, because now you're going into building wealth. You have the capacity and the ability to build wealth. So the money that you would have, you purchase a cheap home, you connect with people that make sense and can help you find these houses. You can go on Hubzu, which is HUBZU, and you can make bids and make offers. Uh, After you find a home, then you need to get that property rented, and that's a whole different story, a different ball game now, where you have to make sure your lease is constructed a certain way, a background check is done, where you can use Zillow to get that done, and also to list the property. 9 out of 10 times, these houses that you would find within this price range, the 12 and 15,000, they're usually in areas that you can make 12 or $1,500 for rent, right, per month. So if you're getting that income, it would make sense for you to save that money each month, and you continue the process. And then now you have multiple properties that are generating income, and you're able to use that money to open more doors and invest, because now you have multiple streams coming in. That's my advice to someone that's younger and they're just starting out. That would change everything. Once you know you're in a good financial position by owning multiple properties, then you go get a mortgage if you want to go get a mortgage, right? Because mind you, there are people that are very comfortable with saying, okay, if I buy this house within this price range, I am not going to get a mortgage, right? They probably would buy that house and live in that house. You get what I mean? Depending on where they live. And if you say you're going to live in that house, now you have way more money to work with. If you say, okay, you're working this job and then you have more leg room to also get another job, right? So that's two income. Now, as it relates to those that are disabled, if they get social security, it's completely different. If they're retired, we have to consider, yeah, if they're retired, we have to consider if they're disabled. Are they disabled? What is it that they can do? What is it that they can't do? If they're getting social security, how much are they getting back from social security? If they have a 401k, how much do they have in their 401k that they can use now to invest? Because like I stated earlier, it's never too late for a shower of rain. So there's a bunch of variables that are on the table when it comes to someone that's retired, because you have those that are retiring with a IRA or a 401k, or they probably have some savings, and you also have those people who doesn't have anything that they can use for their retirement other than their social security. So it's multiple factors that we would have to consider.
Wow. So the key is like discipline and just a mindset that is possible, first of all, and then the discipline
Yes.
and the determination to just follow through.
Absolutely, yeah. Because you can't say you can't have a plan and not follow through with it. You have to execute the plan because it's like a waste of time. Why make a plan and not follow through with it? That's baloney. So you want to make sure that if you make a plan, you follow through with it, and you have to be mindful that if you're gonna make a plan, it's a plan that makes sense, because you can make a plan and it's not a sensible plan. So if it makes sense, then you follow through with it. But how will you know if it makes sense? You have to connect with people that have been there, done that. So, say for example, a person aspire to become a millionaire. If you aspire to become a millionaire, you have to connect with someone who has already been a millionaire. You can't go to your broke friends who have never been at a certain level to get you there, right? And it's the same as you climb up the social ladder or on the level of wealth. You have to connect with people that have already been there, done that. It's just like being a doctor. After becoming a doctor, or finishing school, you go into residency, right? And when you go into residency, you're usually shadowing a doctor, right? Someone who has been in that field for years, so that you can perfect your craft and you don't make certain mistakes. You follow what I'm saying? So,
Yes.
yeah, that's how I believe it. Things should follow through or follow suit.
Do you think a Jamaican, especially Jamaicans that grow up in inner city communities or ghetto or the hood, need to leave in order to become successful?
I believe you can make it in Jamaica, but it's gonna be harder. Why? Because Jamaica is a developing country. Because I think we have moved away from saying third world now, so it's a developing country in comparison to going to a first world country. You know that you would have more access to getting things done, more opportunities. That's one. Two, if you live in Jamaica, Jamaica is basically run on who you know, connections. So if you don't leave Jamaica, you have to associate with certain people that can open certain doors for you. But with them opening those doors, it comes with other factors. Are you going to lose your integrity? Are you going to lose your morals? Are you going to lose yourself? So there are factors there to also consider. But say we take away those factors and everything's all good, and you live in the hood and you're trying to make better for yourself, 9 out of 10 times you have to get a good paying job. And in order to get that good paying job, again, it all goes back to having connection. Because even a college graduate in Jamaica or university grad, they sometimes find it very hard to get a job that pays very well. Now, it also goes back to their level of success, what they're attaining for. For some people, all they ever wanted is just to leave the hood. And by leaving can be just to go somewhere else out of, for example, Grandspan or Maxfield, to go rent somewhere. You get what I mean? But if it is that you want to own a home, the ball game is different. So it would make sense to say, okay, join the military or join the police force. I tend to see that there are more officers and soldiers that tend to get NHT loans that are able to progress and do things in the country in comparison to the normal civilians. So, yeah, I believe it would make more sense to leave, and you can go back if you want to. But the system is set a certain way where it's only certain people are able to make a large sum of money. And if you want to take care of your family, take care of your children, help friends, build a foundation, you may have to leave Jamaica. And it's so sad to say, I love my country, but that's just the truth. Because I know within myself, if I had lived in Jamaica, I would have never been able to accomplish as much things as I've accomplished now. So I would not advise anyone to advise people not to leave and go make better and probably return because that's still home. If you want to return, fine, because living overseas is not for everyone. Um, but it all comes down to that personal decision and what their level of success, what they considered as real and true success. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because
So
success is different to everyone. Yeah.
indeed. So if someone has the opportunity to leave Jamaica, they should do it. But they can always come back if they want, right? So, for example, if things aren't really
Hmm.
working out, they can go overseas, make something of themselves, and then you can always come back stronger,
Right.
right? To build and do all
Yes,
these things, right?
absolutely.
So,
Yes.
indeed. So, do you think the opportunities that you were given, or that exist in America, is different for everybody? So, for example, someone is watching this from America, and they're like, "Man, I'm American born. I've been here for 25 years, and it's hard, man. They don't like black people." Do you think someone like that can make it out of that mindset and situation to again become financially successful in America?
Oh, absolutely. It all has to do with who you associate yourself with. It comes to a point where you have to unlearn certain things. Like, yes, we know that racism is alive and well, but at the same time, you can't let that shun you from trying or put fear in you. Like, okay, because these people are racist, well, I wouldn't say a group of people are racist, but say you know some people in an area and you think that they're racist and you know you're supposed to do some things with them and now you decide you're not going to connect with them because there's a possibility that they're racist. No, you go in that area and you make your mark, right? Because what's for you is for you and no one can take that away from you. And it all goes back to God. If your if your foundation is built on God, doesn't matter who come against you, you will always win. So to answer your question directly, yes, all they have to do is change their mindset and associate with the right people, and they can get it done. Yes,
Amen. So as you said, the mindset can be a roadblock, right? So they're actually stopping
absolutely.
themselves before even trying.
Yes, 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 yes,
All
indeed.
right. So I want to get maybe just a final word from you, like anything you want to share with the people. Of course, social media handles and all that, right? Where can they find you online? How can they work with you, reach out to you, and also any last thing you want to just share with people that will see this video.
Absolutely. So I can be found at Okido, which is always an Oscar, Keido, Kevin Williams on Instagram and on TikTok. My final word is that you have to put in the work. Put in the work, trust God, remain faithful because God always will stick to his word. God is perfect, he's not imperfect. He is going to always stick to his word and his word will not go back to him null. So with you putting in the work, doing what you're supposed to do, identifying your dreams, your aspirations, going to God to knowing or identifying your purpose because of course he has to validate that or confirm it for you, and you pursuing that, you will always win by you trusting him and connecting with the right people and doing good by people. So that's my word.
Wow, wow, wow. Okita, thank you so much, man, for your
I
time. I know
appreciate
it's
it.
very valuable. I appreciated this, and I know that this is going to bless some people. And listen, if you're
I hope
watching this
so. I
video,
really hope so.
I know it will, man. I know I've been blessed myself and inspired, right? So at least
I
there's one
appreciate
person
that.
so far, right? And so, guys, if you're watching this, the links will be in the description down below. Go and follow him on Instagram, TikTok. Reach out, right? Again, wealth of knowledge, so much more, even in this interview than even on social media. So again, it's a deep well. There's just so many things you can learn from Okido to change your life and your trajectory. And don't forget God, right? Like again, don't
Absolutely.
think you can do it without God, right? If it's not working right now
Cannot.
without God, invite God into your story and let Him shine the light on your path so you know where to go, right? He'll be there to help you when things get difficult. So again, thanks for watching. Until next time, God bless you all. Bye for now.